Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Buenos dias, damas y caballeros. Welcome, bienvenidos to the first day of virtual history with Mr. Casey. So I know this is a little bit weird. I think it's going to take some getting used to for everybody. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about how exactly this is going to work. I think we are still figuring out what works best. So your feedback is greatly appreciated. But I'm hoping I can do some video stuff like this to stay in contact with you guys. Of course, you know, I'm pretty active with Instagram at GlobalCon. Check it out. If you are not already following me on Instagram and you are somebody who uses Instagram, then I recommend checking it out because it's definitely a great quick way for me to stay in contact with you guys, give you updates, to review, and put up a lot of other beneficial materials that you guys can use to help you stay connected and stay learning during this time. I hope that everyone is doing all right. I know it's getting pretty scary out there, but especially in these dark times, it's important for us to stay together, to work together, and I'm really hoping that you guys can really reach out to each other, support each other, encourage each other, check in on each other. But I hope you guys are doing all right because we have some learning to do. So first of all, before we get into the topic for today, the big thing on everybody's mind is the debates. So I had a lot to say about the debates, but I know it doesn't apply to everybody, and I didn't want to bore you guys if it's irrelevant to you. So I put it in a separate video. Please check it out. If you have any questions or any doubts about the debates, please check out that video. If you are 100% clear and everything's going smoothly, you can just skip it and continue on with the lesson for today. So now that we have that out of the way, we can get into the topic for today. And we are officially starting a new unit, Unit 7, the Rise and Rebirth of Regional Powers. Alright, so the quaestio for this lesson is what motivations and methods caused the Mongol conquests. So both of those things are causes of the Mongol conquests, but the first one, motivations, is asking why did they conquer, right? What was going on? What was their reason for choosing to or being pushed to conquer? And then the second is how did they conquer, right? What methods did they use? How are they able to pull that off? You can want to conquer a place, but then you have to actually be capable of doing it. So those two things, why did they conquer and how did they conquer, what we want to look at. So first, let's just begin by giving a little bit of background leading up to the Mongols. All right, so the Mongols are one of the most important developments throughout world history, certainly in the post-classical period. They really reshaped the map because they were the largest contiguous land empire in history. To get a sense of how drastic the changes they brought were, I want to look at the map right before the Mongols came into power. And for those who were in class on Friday, I know a lot of people were absent that day, understandable. We did talk a little bit about this, so this might seem familiar to some of you. So here's a map of China. China, at that time, you had in the south, the main dynasty was the Song dynasty, right? So remember, during the Tang dynasty, it was much larger. But during the Song dynasty, they lost control of the north. The north had been divided by different nomadic peoples. If we take a look at West Africa, we actually, in Unit 6, went a little bit ahead of this time period. So we were learning about West Africa even into the period where the Mongols were conquering. Right before the Mongols come in, this is when the Ghana Empire, the first of the three Golden Salt Kingdoms, Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. The Ghana Empire was in decline, and then Mali hasn't quite become this large empire yet. So this is, the Mongols are going to begin their conquest before Mansa Musa. If we look at the Middle East, this was around the time of the Crusades. I think this is around the Third Crusade in this map. So the Seljuks are still encroaching on the Roman Empire, which is actually, of course, the Byzantine Empire. And it says the Ayyubid Sultanate, which was Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, or Saladin, as he's known in the West, who had united Egypt and Syria and become this, major player in the Middle East, kind of uniting the Muslim world, or at least a big chunk of it. And you can imagine the Mongols actually begin their conquests and come into the Middle East while the Crusades are still happening. If we look at Eastern Europe, you see that there aren't a lot of big countries. It's a lot of small groups, and many of those further east are Turkic peoples and other nomadic peoples that are living that steppe lifestyle. And the Kumans in particular, the Kipchaks, were one of the major nomadic peoples. When the Mongols come in, those people will often be absorbed into the Mongol horde, very similar to what happened with the Huns, taking over and incorporating those nomadic peoples further west into their crew. If we look at Western Europe, we can see England as controlling half of what is today France. That was before Tricky Phil came back from the Third Crusade and took the land from John the Biggest Loser, John Lackland. We see Spain is divided. There are some Muslim states, some Christian states. This is the world as it exists when the Mongol conquest begins. So looking back to the lands north of China, we see a lot of different groups. We see the Tuvans, the Merkits, the Mongols, the Tatars. They're not united. They're not forming into one state. The Mongols are just one small group up there with the others. So what is it about this group? Why was this tiny group able to expand from that point and take over enormous amounts of territory? Because these people were nomadic people. They were herders, right? They're pastoral nomads. They're animals. They graze them on the grass. They don't have crops. They don't grow food. They are not hunter-gatherers. They're pastoral nomads, so they herd their animals. So why was this small group able to become this massive empire? A lot of it does come down to one man, and that is Genghis Khan. So who was Genghis Khan? Who was the man that was able to take the Mongol Empire from this to this, and this, and this? And sure, eventually they broke into pieces, but it's still pretty impressive. So now, what are you actually supposed to do today for this class? Well, some of you guys may have already started and even finished most of what you needed to do for today, since we posted a lot of that stuff earlier in the week. But basically, the first thing I'd like you guys to do, following up on what we just discussed, is the VBQ, the Mongols VBQ. So you'll watch the John Green video and answer the questions just like you normally do with the VBQ. Following the VBQ, there's the Here Come the Mongols worksheet. And now, this is where I know we had some issues, because when I originally posted it through a Word document by accident, and some people had trouble editing it. Some people were able to do it, but some people were not. Then I tried to fix my mistake by posting it as a Google Doc, but I guess I forgot to turn on each student gets their own copy. And so it only allowed people to view it, and most people were unable to complete it, although some people figured out a way to fix that one and make it work. But in either case, it was more difficult than it needed to be. So I thought about it, and basically what I've decided to do is I've actually posted a third version of that assignment, and this one is the Google Doc, but it is also editable, where it will give you your own version, and then you can turn that in. So what I'm asking you guys to do, and I apologize, I know this is an inconvenience, but to make things go more smoothly and to make sure everything is in one place and everybody gets the credit they deserve, I'm asking that those of you guys who completed the assignment on either of the first two versions, just copy and paste your answers from the old one to this new one. It might even be possible for you to just take that Google Doc that you created and turn that in as your assignment. And many of you may not have done it at all, so this is your opportunity to do it. You don't even have to worry about those two older versions. So it's the one on Google Classroom that is titled Here Come the Mongols, and in the front of it, it says redo, right? So that's the one I want you guys to do. So because I know this is an inconvenience for some of you who have already completed it, I'm going to give you all 10 extra bonus points on this assignment. So that way you can get up to 110, and that's my way of trying to make up for that inconvenience for you. And that's it for today. So guys, have a wonderful rest of your day. Feel free to reach out to me here on Google Classroom or on my Instagram @GlobalCon with any questions that you might have. And hopefully everything works out with the debates, guys. I wish you the very best. Peace out. Have a good one.